जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. Today we are going to discuss how to study Bhagavad Gita. So Srila Prabhupada actually wanted us to know the Bhagavad Gita inside out. What it means is he wanted us to study the Bhagavad Gita very critically and learn deeply. And this is a life-changing book, and it takes a long time to study. And it's a practical book actually, which can be applied in our day-to-day practice, and we can live by the principles of Bhagavad Gita. So, in order to understand all this, one has to study the Bhagavad Gita in details. But before going into studying the Bhagavad Gita in details, we need to know a few other things. And how I came across this detailed study of Bhagavad Gita is through this particular book which I have discussed in the previous session, The Art of Teaching by His Grace Bhurijan Prabhu. And some of the discussions which we are going to have today, part of that discussion, I have picked up from this book. And then I have taken other things from many other books, including Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and other scriptures. So let's go deep into it. So before studying the Gita, we must understand what is the purpose of actually studying the Gita. Why do we want to study Gita? That has to be clear. Like in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Dr. Stephen Covey, he in the second habit, he says that, begin with the end in mind. So one must know what they are doing and why they are doing, the purpose behind doing that thing. So similarly, while studying the Gita, we have to know the purpose of why actually you want to study Gita. And according to my study and my understanding, these are the main purpose. And also we discussed this in those 25 sessions of introduction. When we read it, that's a summary study of the entire Gita. And then towards the end, Krishna declares, or Krishna tells Arjuna what needs to be done. So based on Krishna's understanding, we can come to the conclusion that by studying Gita, these things are to be cultivated. The first one is purification of heart. Means our heart needs to be purified. Currently, we understood from the introduction that when the living entity actually comes to this material world, we are having an impure mind. Impure mind means our relationship with Krishna is broken, and that actually puts us into the cycle of birth and death. We want to enjoy separate from Krishna. So that purification has to happen by our study of Gita. So that is a purification of heart or transformation. This is not just information. Information is at one level. Like in the previous sessions we discussed about mind. So in the understanding of the mind, there are certain information which is there at the very superficial level. But then the information can be contemplated and with deep reasoning, and then we can understand the things better. So that is actually deep contemplation or reasoning. So by reading Bhagavad Gita, we have to understand our position in this world, and then we need to work towards purifying our heart. That is the transformation of heart. The second reason or the purpose of studying Gita is cultivating the Sambandha Gyan. So this also we covered in details in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. The Dashamula Tattva, right? We studied Dashamula Tattva by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So that topic actually tells us about it gives knowledge about ourselves and the knowledge about the Lord and our relationship, and then how to cultivate that relationship, which is broken. So that is Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana. So at least begin with the Sambandha Gyan. And then finally, that is the Prayojana is develop attraction for performing loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord in disciplic succession. Because the knowledge that we receive is through the parampara or disciplic succession. So in the parampara we learn that we are actually part and parcel of Krishna, and parampara also explains that because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we are not meant to be suffering in this material world. We have a relationship with the Lord, and that relationship is broken, and then we need to re-establish that relationship. So this is what the parampara teaches us. Now this knowledge actually can be started by the process of hearing. So the purpose becomes more clear by Shravanam or hearing. Sanskrit term for hearing is Shravanam. It begins with the process of hearing. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. So these are the 9 devotional service which we came across in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. So it begins by the process of hearing. And then when we hear, then what happened? So in Bhagavatam, it is given, Bhagavatam Canto 1, 2nd chapter, 17th verse. The verse says that Srinvatam Sokata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Hridayantasto Yavadrani Vidunoti Shruhutsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma or super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart. So this is the impure state of the soul. That's what we learned in the introduction, that our current condition is that it's filled up with impurities. And what is impurity? The impurity is desire to enjoy separate from Krishna. So what Krishna does when we hear Krishna Katha, actually, he cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, right, who is now actually developed a taste for hearing. So this is what happens when we hear the sound incarnation. This is another verse from 2nd canto, 8th chapter, 5th verse. Pravishta Karna Randrena. So I'll just read the meaning. The sound incarnation of the Lord, who is the Lord in the heart, Krishna, the Supreme Soul, that is Srimad, and that message is coming from Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee and sits on the lotus flower of his loving relation, and thus cleanses the dust of material association such as lust, anger, hankering. Thus acts like a autumnal rains upon the pool of muddy water. So as the rain falls from the sky into a pool of muddy water, and when more water or more rain falls in that muddy pool, then eventually what happens is the muddy water is cleaned and it becomes a clean water. So similarly, by continuous hearing, our desire to enjoy in this material world is gradually taken away by Krishna. So these are the two references which tells how Krishna Katha or hearing actually helps the living entity to gradually purify the consciousness. So here we are talking about the purification of the heart or the transformation of the heart. How does that happen? That happens by the process of hearing. When we hear, the Krishna within our heart actually purifies our heart. Our attraction for enjoying in this material world gradually go away. As we hear more and more about Krishna, then the purification happens. And who does the purification? Actually, Krishna sitting in the heart. He sees that we are interested in hearing about him. So he gradually cleanses our heart. And then once the heart is cleansed, then we develop attraction for the Lord. So that is the whole purpose. The purpose is, these are the three main purpose, but that is fulfilled by the process of hearing. So that's why it begins by the process of hearing. So that's why hearing is important. And what is the result of hearing? We just saw that, our desires are cleansed. So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 verse 26, Krishna is saying, again there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge. So somebody who just started learning about Krishna or about Bhagavad Gita, for them, they are not actually conversant with this knowledge, begins to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. So when these people who are not having knowledge about Krishna, they worship Krishna by the process of hearing, then because of the tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. So here the result is given, but it happens gradually. So first of all, what happens is, somebody who doesn't know about Krishna, but they desire to hear about Krishna from somebody who knows about Krishna. So then they engage in the process of hearing. And because of the tendency of hearing the message of Krishna, then what happens? Gradually their heart gets cleansed, and eventually they develop love for Krishna. And then what happens? Then they transcend, means they go from the cycle, or they exit from the cycle of birth and death. Basically they go from material world to the spiritual world. So this is the result that happens, but it happens through the process of hearing. So other places in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and it is mentioned that somebody who has, in Bhagavad Gita is mentioned, somebody who has Kama Krodha Parayana, means Kama Krodha means his mind or his senses are dwelling continuous in Kama. Parayana means the mentality is submerged in Kama and Krodha. Kama means lust, Krodha means anger. So when the person who is Kama Krodha Parayana, he engages in Shruti Parayana, means in the process of hearing. His mentality is absorbed in hearing. Then what happens? Eventually by the process of hearing, gradually what happens is his mind gets purified, and then he becomes Narayana Parayana. This is now mind is absorbed in Narayana or Krishna. That is given in Bhagavatam 6.1.14.5. This is 6th canto, 14th chapter and 5th verse. So this transformation happens by the process of hearing. So that's the first step. So first step is to know the purpose why we are studying Bhagavad Gita, why we want to study. And we very clearly defined that we want to study because we want to purify ourselves, transform our heart from the current state towards spirituality. So towards becoming more purer, and then eventually develop love for Godhead. So that's the purpose. If the purpose is clear, then nothing can actually disturb us. So this purpose has to be very clear. Like as I said earlier, in the 7 habits, begin with the end in mind. So this purpose is actually the end goal. But we start with that okay, this is the goal. I am not there yet. I have a lot of limitations, but eventually I know that I'm going to reach there. So for that, then I need to cultivate. So what is the cultivation? I need to engage in the process of hearing. So that is step number 2. Step number 2 is the act of hearing. So how do we hear? So Prabhupada says in Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse number 44, he gives a very detailed explanation of how one should engage in the process of hearing. Since yesterday, the previous session, actually we were discussing about the mind So when we were discussing about the mind, then there were various stages or categories, right? So first category or first level is the first is the stimulus which is received through the senses, and the senses receive the information. Like in case of hearing, the ears will be used for the purpose of hearing, then it will be processed in the mind. It goes through the inner sense, and then the processing will be done in the mind, and then further processing happens in the intelligence, right? So when it goes through the ear, we learned that if our focus is not there in the mind, then we will not be able to hear. So if you see here, Prabhupada says simple hearing is not all, because when you simple hear, you may register what you have heard or you may not register. So then Prabhupada said one must realize the text with proper attention. The words Nivishta means that Suta Goswami drank the juice of Bhagavatam through his ears. That is the real purpose of receiving Bhagavatam. So he is talking about Bhagavatam here, but the same is applicable for Bhagavad Gita. The simple hearing is not at all, is not all actually. You have to hear with rapt attention, and that's the next statement. One should hear with rapt attention from a real person, and then one can at once realize the presence of Lord in every page. So hearing with rapt attention is the key. When basically your attention should be 100% when you hear actually. Now because of we saw that why the attention is not there, why don't we learn towards the end of the discussion of how mind works. We saw that if the mind is agitated, if there are some physical difficulties or some other kind of mental disturbances are going on, or if the subject is not of any interest to us, then our attention will be not there. So in order to study, when we are studying, then our attention should be 100% focused. Basically, we cannot do multitask. We cannot do multi things together. We have to focus right on the process of hearing. So then Prabhupada says that the secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. What is that secret? No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. So this point we discussed in the previous session, in the mind session, that somebody will not be able to learn because the mind is agitated. So this is discussed here also in Bhagavatam. How is the mind agitated? So let's see. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. Means mind is disturbed. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing and mating. So these are all sense gratification. Eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So if we engage our senses in these activities, then the mind will be agitated. It will be disturbed. If the mind is disturbed, then our attention will not go into the study of Gita. So gradually we need to purify this. But then Prabhupada also said, but somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention, so if we are able to do this one thing, hear with rapt attention from the right person. So over here, right person is, we are reading Srila Prabhupada's book. So he is the right person, and we are just reading and as it is and trying not to do any interpretation. So when we read in that mood of not changing things and hearing from bona fide spiritual masters, then what happens is that somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person, at the very beginning, one can be assuredly see the Lord, Sri Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam or in Bhagavad Gita also. Meaning you can experience the presence of Krishna in the book. So that's why this book is not an ordinary book. Even Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, they are not ordinary books. Bhagavad Gita is a song of God. It's spoken by the Lord himself, directly spoken by the Lord to Krishna, as to Arjuna. And one can experience Krishna in the book if we read with rapt attention, if we develop this one thing, which is attentively reading, very seriously reading, then it is possible to say Krishna. Along with the reading, then the contemplation has to happen. So that is explained in the next slide, which is there is a verse from Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. So in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, it is said that the self or the soul, my dear Maitreya, because this has been taught to Maitreya, should be realized, should be heard, or Shravana, reflected on, manana, and meditated upon. That is nididhyanyasya. By the realization of the self, my dear, through the process of hearing, reflection, and meditation, all this is known. So all this is known means we can know Krishna through these three processes or three stages. Number one is hearing. Hearing with rapt attention. Once somebody hears with rapt attention, then manana. Manana is the next stage, which is thinking. So if you recall again the discussion in the session of how mind works, that is in the faculty of intelligence, where we deeply think about what we have studied, and after thinking about, then meditating upon it, that is called as nididhanyasa, which we are meditating upon the what we have heard. So, and then again here, so it's like circular, that's why I put it in a circle. So hearing, then thinking about it, meditating upon it, again hearing more, thinking more, meditating, and this is a continuous cycle. So by just this process, by the process of hearing and thinking about it and meditating, what happens is we can understand our real position. We can understand our position, our relationship with Krishna. We can realize Krishna right in the books. That's why Prabhupada over here says that when somebody does that, he can actually, what happens, he can be surely seeing the Lord as a person, because Lord is a person. Krishna is a personality. He is not impersonal. I mean, of course, there is impersonal feature of the Lord, but we are not interested in that. We are interested in Krishna, a person Krishna, with whom we can relate, to whom we can serve in person. We are also person, Krishna is also person. He is a supreme person. We are Anu, he is Vibhu. But we want to serve the supreme person. That is our goal. So, hearing and then thinking about, that is manana. So hearing is Shravana, manana, and then nididhyanasya, that is meditating. So there is an educator in America, his name is Edgar Dale, and he gave up a model of learning, how we learn. And when we learn, what happens over the period of time, what we have learned. So that is this chart actually. This chart very nicely shows, he has proved this, that how much we remember after 2 weeks. So you can find this on internet, and you can read about it more, but I just give a highlight of what he's saying. He's saying that whatever we read, only 10% of that reading is retained within us after 2 weeks. So we read something today, and after 2 weeks somebody asks, what did you read? So we can only retain, we can recall only 10%, right? If you read it one time. And then how much we retain after hearing? Only 20%. And then similarly, if we see something, then we retain 30%. If we see and hear, then we retain 50%. So that's why visual receiving is very, very important. when we see something and we read and we try to understand through diagrams and all these things, then we retain more. So that is visual receiving. This is called as, the first part is verbal receiving, and then this is when we are seeing, that is visual. So anything which we see is a visual, as a picture, that retains more actually. Then he says that we can retain what we have learned after 2 weeks, 70% of that. How? When we speak. So we read, we hear, we see, and then we speak about the same thing. When we speak, then we remain, when we actually when we say it or when we speak about it, then it is retained 70%. So basically, when we are participating in the discussion, then we retain 70% of it. That's why, many times I have said in the past that spiritual knowledge has to be learned under a teacher, because when you learn under a teacher, you have an opportunity to ask questions. So whatever doubts you have, you can ask to the speaker, and the speaker will answer those questions. So basically, you are participating in the discussion yourself. So you are receiving as well as you are participating. So the retention is more. Here, when we are doing through the internet, it's a one-sided. A person is speaking and you are just hearing. And we don't know how much is absorbed if it is not like 100% heard. So that's why it is very important to study under a teacher, a person teacher who is teaching in person, and you are sitting in the class and hearing from that person, and you are also participating by asking questions. So that is to say that he's saying that 70% is retained, but then he's saying that 90% is retained. When you read, hear, you see, you say anything, and you also do. So you live a life of what you have learned. By doing it, you retain 90% because you are practicing what you are preaching. So this is a way to actually learn. So spiritual life, the goal is that 90%. And whatever we study, we have to start living by those thoughts, what we are learning from Bhagavad Gita. So that's why, I was saying in the beginning that it's a life-changing study. Our life will change only if whatever we learn in Bhagavad Gita, then actually we first hear, then we think about it, then we meditate about what we have heard, and then we try to apply that in our life. Practice that what we have learned. By that way, we can retain 90%. So this is the mood of actually hearing. When we hear, then the mood of hearing is actually submission. Submission means to the we should not be in the argumentative mode too when we are learning something. Of course, questions can be asked. So that is the point of submission. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter 34th verse, Tad viddhi pranipatena. Pranipatena is submission. Means you submit to the teacher. You accept that when we submit to the teacher, it means that we accept that we don't know. We have come here for the purpose of learning. I don't know this subject matter. At the same time, the person who is learning has a right to understand what they are learning. So then they have rights to question, right? And the teacher should be able to answer those questions. So tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena. And then sevaya. The teacher also engages you in the service of the Lord, as well as one must be ready to serve the person who is actually teaching, because that's a way of paying back. In spiritual knowledge, there is no charging of money. The teacher never used to charge money for teaching. Right? So with great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lessons learned imparted by the Srimad Bhagavatam, or basically here, the person Bhagavatam or the book Bhagavatam. Then secondly, it should be in the mood of receiving. because this is not pursuing, this is not something material knowledge we are trying to gain. This is received. The teacher gives you and you receive it. That is given in this point is discussed in the Canto 1, Chapter 1, verse 3 purport. Also, when we are hearing, if we hear in the mood of it's a service to the Lord and the spiritual master, then we become more and more humble. Then then we can receive the message very easily. So this is a technique where we have to cultivate the technique, that we are performing a service. Even hearing is a service. So all these things are service. Even eating is a service. So do everything in the mood of service. That's what the teachers in the disciplic succession, they teach us, that everything is a service to Guru and Krishna. And then finally accept this message as the incarnation of the Lord. So whatever message Krishna is giving is the actually incarnation, sound incarnation of the Lord, because we are hearing it. So it's a sound incarnation, or literally incarnation of the Lord. So if we study in that mood, then definitely, there will be change in heart. The transformation has to happen. So these are the key points which I am trying to bring in here, so that actually when we, go to the study, then we keep this in mind, that okay, when we are reading Bhagavad Gita verse by verse, we understand that this is actually Krishna directly speaking to Arjuna. And then you can also read it as actually Krishna directly speaking to you. So when you read it in that mode, then the effect of whatever we are reading is really, really good. Actually, it sinks in the heart. So this is a mood of hearing, and this is an example. This is my Guru Maharaj's notes. Actually, he likes to take note while he's teaching. So these are his handwritten notes. He took it. I took this picture in the Mayapur Yatra. So in Yatra, normally there are classes. So before the class, Maharaj was preparing himself, and I took a picture of that. So see how nicely he has written all the subject matter, what he is going to speak. Similarly, when we actually hear whatever important points we feel in the class, we should start taking notes. So by taking notes, what happens is whatever is our thought process is going in writing. This is another way of learning, that taking notes helps us to deeply contemplate on the subject matter. So with this, I will stop here, and then we'll continue discussion. The next phase onwards. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Gaur Premanande Haribol.